Timeouts. Today we are going to discuss timeouts, and we're going to look at it from a biblical perspective. Are timeouts biblical? Hi there, Danielle here, mother of almost 6 children. I have not had my 6th baby, but I am due any day now. Welcome to this channel, Heavenly Minded Mama, where we talk about all things parenting from a biblical perspective. We dig into scripture and we say, God, what do you have to say about this issue that ails me? You know, I believe that God can speak to every single area. To us as parents, He is the first father. He is our perfect father. If you are new here, that is so great. I'm so glad that you're here. Most of us mothers have probably sent our children to their room at one time or another. I know I used to do it when I was a younger mom. I still do it with my toddler. I can link the video, toddler tantrums, at the end of this video, but I don't send my older children to their room. Let's try to understand what timeouts are and why we use them. When I really thought about this video, I asked myself, why do we send our children to their room? Most of the time, we need a break. We need a reset. We want our children to adjust their behavior. We want to reset. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe things are very chaotic in the home at whatever time we send our kids to their room, and we just need a reset. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a reset. We want a change of heart from our children, to be honest, and you know what? That desire is good. We want that change of heart. But I am going to talk about how I don't believe any longer that sending our children to their room is how we can achieve a change of heart. As always, these are my opinions. You are a different parent than me, and you can certainly lead your home the way that you want to lead it. I am simply looking at scripture and sharing my convictions on this matter. You know, timeouts have been a very widely accepted thing, but personally, I don't believe that they are the most healthy. And again, I will get into why I believe that. But these are just my opinions. I am not condemning anybody for whatever you decide to do in your home. I have simply sought scripture in this area to try to understand if it's biblical or not, and if there's a better way. Traditionally, a timeout is meant for our child to go and think about what they have done, right? We say, go to your room and think about what you've done. In the video, Conquering Toddler Tantrums, I do tell my 2-year-old daughter, go into your room and come back when you're better. But the thing is with toddlers versus older children, toddlers, they don't have the understanding in their mind yet to really understand, you know, what's going on. Sarah, my 2-year-old daughter, she'll a lot of times be out of her tantrum before she even reaches her room, and she comes back and says, Mom, I'm better. I mean, little kids see things black and white, but when you get to have older children like 10, 11, 9, in that area, I don't believe that it is so black and white, and they have an understanding. They have, you know, developed their free will. They have their opinions, their thoughts. But yes, the main goal of a timeout is go to your room and think about what you have done. But let me share some scripture with you today that points to timeouts not being the best thing. Folly is built up in the heart of a child. Okay, foolishness is bound up in their heart. So I'm not helping my daughter, my son, navigate that foolishness. They are just going to go in their room and not really have direction. Yes, they have a free will, they have some understanding, but if they're in the throes of being upset with us because they don't understand what we are talking about with them or why we are unhappy with a behavior or something, their default is going to go to that foolishness, and that's going to be what they're going to dwell on. Another verse that I have come to just really lean on when it comes to timeouts with my children is a child left to himself will bring his mother shame. Scripture, it says, in the very beginning, it says it is not good for man to be alone. Yes, we are talking about Adam here, the creation of Adam. But you could also, extend that in a very broad term to mankind. It is not good for mankind to be alone. I mean, we are meant to be in unity with one another. And here we are, we're sending our child to be alone in their room. And a child left to himself will bring his mother shame. Our child, at whatever age they are here, when we're sending them to timeouts, it is not good for them to be alone, to navigate these angry emotions by themselves. John 3:6, it says, flesh gives birth to flesh, but the spirit gives birth to spirit. And so if my child is going to his room and he's displaying any of the acts of the flesh, like anger, selfish ambition, hatred towards me, his mother, that stuff is just going to manifest and turn more into itself. It's going to multiply. This is kind of my basis for not leaning towards timeouts with my older children. I take it a step further and I'm like, what I could really be doing is just conditioning my child to say what I want to hear. Yes, Mom, I understand, but they don't really understand. They just don't want to be in their room or, whatever. And am I really cultivating a change of heart by sending them to their room? There's nothing wrong with a reset, with let's take a break, but sending our children to their room for a timeout because of bad behavior is, I believe, different than, we need to reset and we need to, have some quiet time or something like that. Love this illustration that God gives us, and I did talk about it when it comes to bad attitudes. I can link that video as well in the end of this video. But Scripture says, the story of Cain and Abel, after Cain had killed his brother, God actually said to him, why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, won't you be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. And so if we're sending our children to their room, to this timeout, and they don't, they're alone, their behavior is unto the acts of the flesh, they're not going to be able to navigate what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. And sin is crouching at their door. In my opinion, I think we as Christian parents need to help them navigate these emotions. Discipline, it actually means training that corrects, molds, or perfects character. And so discipline, by definition, is action. It is us doing something, and I'm not saying that a reset is bad. Okay. Sometimes we do need to take a step back and, from each other and take a breather. Proverbs 19:18, it says, discipline your children, for in that there is hope. Do not be a willing party to their death. So discipline, it is action. Train up your child in the way that they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. So again, it is action. To me, discipline is not complacency. Yes, it's a lot easier to send my kid to their room so that I don't need to deal with your behavior. But it is something entirely different to sit you down at the table where I'm at and explain to you and talk to you and to get in your head and figure out the root of why you made that decision, and us talk about it and to talk about the Bible and what Scripture says. So do I do timeouts? Yes and no. Okay, so I do timeouts in my presence. Like, okay, you will have this timeout, this pause, but you will be in my presence. So if I'm in the kitchen, you will sit down at the kitchen table with me and we will be together. If I'm in the living room, you will sit on the couch and we will be together. So technically it is kind of a timeout, but it's in my presence. There are some people who call this time ins. I think it was Debbie Pearl who initially called it a time in. I'm not sure. But it can be whatever you want. It could be, it's a timeout in my presence. No, it is not good for man to be alone. A child left to himself will bring his mother shame. Yes, God told Cain, sin is crouching at your door, but you need to learn to rule over it. But Cain was an adult. So yes, our children, they need to learn to master sin that is crouching at their door. But when they're children, I believe that we parents are to help them navigate this. Let's think through it. Do you know why mom and dad are upset? Do you know why this is unacceptable behavior? What does scripture say? Proverbs 18:1, whoever isolates himself seeks his own desires. He breaks out against all sound judgment. So during that time, while our children are in timeout, and I'm not saying all children are like this, but maybe some are like this, they can break out against all sound judgment, and they're sitting in there and they're just brooding, and they're just, in their mind, you know what I mean? They're being rebellious. 1 Corinthians 15:33, do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals. Now, you're by yourself, okay? You're not with anyone. Well, technically you are. You're with your thoughts. And, if they are unto the acts of the flesh, if I'm mad at mom or I'm mad at dad and I just don't understand why I'm in trouble for this, and I don't understand why I have to be sent to my room and da-da-da. You know what? They're listening to their thoughts. That is bad company. Bad company ruins good morals. In my opinion, I don't want to risk it. I want to be with you. I want to be conversing with you and seeing what's going on in your head so that I can help you navigate those emotions. Romans 8:7, for the mind that is set on the flesh is hostile to God, for it does not submit to God's law. Indeed, it cannot. So again, if our children are manifesting any acts of the flesh, hatred, selfish ambition, anything like that, their mind is set on the flesh and is hostile to God. I personally believe that, sending our children to their room while they're hot and mad like that in their emotions is a breeding ground to be hostile towards God. And yeah, I just don't want to risk that with my children. It's not good for man to be alone. When Adam and Eve sinned in the garden, yes, they got cast out of the garden, but what happened? We know the full story. God came down. He sent his son, Jesus, because we needed him. He didn't leave us. He didn't isolate us. He didn't separate himself from us. He decided to come down and to make a way. And I'm not saying that we're God, but I'm just saying we can see that behavior in God and be like, okay, God didn't separate himself from me when I needed him, when I was lost and broken. So I shouldn't separate myself from my children when they are lost and broken and misbehaving. Doesn't mean that I don't have standards or consequences. God has consequences for sin, but he doesn't separate himself from us. But God shows his love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That is Romans 5:8. We needed to come to an understanding of our wrongdoing. We have a free will. God, he never separates himself from us. He's continually drawing us to him. We have all probably mishandled timeouts. We've used it as a way to separate ourselves from our child's behavior and just go think about it. I just want to be alone right now as a parent. There's nothing wrong with, yes, taking a step, taking a breather, but it doesn't need to be under the guise of a timeout. But we've all done it, right? That's how we can abuse timeouts. But in my opinion, sending children to their room does not produce the righteousness of God. I just encourage you as a parent of any number of children to search your heart and to search scripture and let God convict you where he wants to convict you on this matter. Please share your thoughts or your own experiences in the comments. We can connect there. Like and subscribe to this video if you haven't already. And until next time, bye for now.